Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on the Indian pharma industry performance for the month of August. The topics that we would be covering today are the IPM therapy performance. We'll be looking at the growth drivers, the growth trend analysis, wherein we'll try to delve a little deeper on why the growths have happened in this particular way. We'll be looking at the top 40 corporates and the top 40 brands, and we'll also be looking at the key takeaways. In our Opinions That Matter section, we have a very interesting discussion with Mr. Brijendra Singh from Lupin, who is the vertical head and senior vice president sales and marketing in Lupin, on patient centricity, the most happening topic today. So to start with, we are looking at how the IPM has performed for the month as well as for the month in terms of value as well as units. In terms of value, the IPM has performed, shown a growth of 5%, and in terms of unit, the growth is around -3%. There are two therapies, and the ophthalmological therapy. These are the ones which have managed to show a robust double-digit value as well as unit growth for the month of August. When we try to look at for the IPM on a month-on-month basis, for the month of August 23, it is mainly the new introductions and the price hike-driven growth, which has driven the growth of the market, whereas volumes have pulled down the growth of the market. When I look a little deeper at a therapy level, for all the major therapies in the IPM for the month of August, it is price and to some extent new introductions that have driven the growth of the market. Volumes have pulled them down. However, if I look at the anti-neoplastics and the ophthalmology for the month of August, volumes have driven the growth significantly. This also is seen at a MAT scenario for both these therapies where volumes have driven the growth of the market. What we try to do is we try to look at what may be the reason for this type of growth that the market is reflecting in terms of MAT and month. Since the growth is majorly a price-driven growth, we will not focus more on the value growth of the market, but we will look more on the unit growth of the market. So we have done the multiplier analysis wherein we have compared the consumption, the unit consumption across different therapies in comparison to how it was in the pre-COVID times, because COVID times have made or brought a lot of difference in the consumption or the buying patterns of the patients. So I'll just explain to you how I have arrived at these numbers, 0.98, 1.4, 1.04, 1.05. So what I have done is I have taken the units for the month of August 19 as constant. Multiplier for August 20 is units of August 20 divided by units of August 19. Multiplier for August 21 is units of August 21 over units of August 19. For August 22, it's units of August 22 over units of August 19. So net, what I see is the consumption in the August 20, the consumption was lesser as compared to what it was in the pre-COVID times. Whereas in August 21 and August 22, it was 4% higher than what it was in August 19. And in August 23, it is just 5% higher than what it is in August 19. Now, this is the MAT. And if I were to look at how the numbers look, even for the month of August, the numbers are showing a more or less similar pattern. So net, what we see is the consumption that we are seeing is somewhere very close to what it was being seen in pre-COVID times. Now, when I talk about consumption in PharmaTrac data, it essentially means the secondary sales which is happening from the stockists to the retailers that is getting reflected. Look at the different key therapy areas. How does the picture look across some of the key therapy areas? In the cardiology segment, it is 5% higher than what it was in 2019. Anti-infectives, it's almost similar to what it was in 2019. Gastro, diabetes, these two segments, it seems to be relatively higher as compared to the 2019 numbers. If I were to look at a similar picture for the respiratory segment, a 16% increase, which is a significant increase in terms of what it was in 2019. Pain also, there's a significant increase. In case of derma, in fact, the consumption has declined. Lesser units sold as compared to what was sold in 2019. Neuro, again, almost stagnated. Gynac, a significant improvement. Now, what I'm discussing, just keep the statements in mind because later on we will look at why this may be happening. If I were to look at the rest of the therapy area, since I'll be sharing this, I will not be discussing the next 10 therapy areas in detail. But more or less, we are seeing that there are certain therapy areas where the consumption is significantly higher than what it was in 2019, and some places it has stagnated. Now, if I were to look at how the population grows in the country, on an average, the population grows by 1%. Post-COVID period, lifestyle diseases have increased. So stagnation in consumption may not be the ground reality. There has to be some other reason why this may be happening. We may have to look at more in terms of some of the molecules or the subgroups within each of the therapy areas, which may give us a better understanding. So if I look at cardiac therapy, I have just taken three therapy areas: cardiology, anti-infectives, and respiratory segment. So if I were to look at the cardiac therapy, antihypertensives, which are the highest contributing segment in the cardiology therapy, they have shown a 1% increase over the 2019 numbers. Whereas lipid lowering drugs, platelet aggregation, diuretics, heparins, some high-end products in the cardiology therapy, they have shown a significant increase in consumption as compared to the 2019 numbers. Then, if I were to look at the antibacterials, overall, the antibacterials, the consumption has increased by 6%, which is a decent increase. For antifungals, obviously, because it was COVID time, the consumption was higher. It has come down. And antivirals, if you see the type of viral infections and cases of viral infections that we have seen in the last 2 months, we definitely would, those number of cases would definitely support the incremental that we are seeing in the consumption pattern in terms of absolute units. Next, we go to the anti-asthma products, where there is a 24% increase, cough and cold, where there is a 10% increase, nasal preparations, where there is a 30% increase in consumption over 2019 numbers. Now, net, if you look at how the therapy areas and why they may have shown an increase. Now, antihypertensives, typically when a patient is put on the antihypertensive products, the patient stays on that product for almost life. Majority of the time, he sticks to a brand. Majority of the time, the strength also remains the same. Whereas in case like platelet aggregators, heparins, they are actually taken after in consultation with the doctor. They are not chronic therapies, and the manufacturing of these products is also very difficult, not easy to manufacture products. Then in case of asthma products, asthma also there would be the patient may actually prefer to go to a chemist and pick up the product. Whereas in case of cough and cold preparations, which are very acute, probably the consumption happens only for a week. You come out of the doctor's chamber, the doctor prescribes, you pick it up from the chemist and you take the drug away. So we think, or the likely reason for this type of growth that may be happening, we have found out there may be three reasons. One is there are smaller local players which are becoming more aggressive in the acute segments, especially the ones where there is ease of manufacturing. And these local players, they actually operate in smaller pockets with smaller list of doctors, and may be difficult to capture. But definitely a shift is happening to these local players. Online pharmacies are gaining popularity, especially for chronic segments where the patient stays on the drug for a lifetime. And generic stores, especially stores like Dawa India, Jan Aushadhi, they are seeing increase in footfalls, especially for the class of drugs which are more acute and more generic in nature, or can be more generic in nature. This was about why we are seeing the type of growth that we are seeing in the market today. Then we go to the top 40 corporates and we see that though the market has shown a challenge in terms of unit growth, Sun, Mankind, Cipla, and USV among the top 20 corporates have managed to show a good positive unit growth. FDC, Cadila, La Renon, Ajanta, Hegde and Corona, even these companies have shown a positive unit growth for the month of August. Coming to the top 40 brands, among the top 20 brands, GSK continues to be on the number one position for the MAT as well as month period and shows a robust 7% unit growth. Other brands showing a double-digit unit growth are Manforce, Pan, Volini. Among the next 20, it's Rhizodec, T-Bact, and Telma, which are showing a robust double-digit growth. This was about the brand performance. Now, if I were to summarize the analysis that we have seen today is the IPM has grown in terms of value, showing a 5% growth, and units, it's a degrowth. The growth by new introduction as well as price increase. Antineoplastics and ophthalmological segments are the only therapies that have shown a robust value as well as unit growth and for the month of August. And these two categories have also shown the growth that they have shown as a volume driven growth. The likely reasons for the growth trends that we are seeing across certain subgroups and the therapy areas are small local players becoming aggressive in acute segments, online pharmacies gaining popularity in chronic segments, generics like Dawa India, Jan Aushadhi gaining footfalls, generic stores gaining footfalls. And despite the growth challenges among the top 40, Sun, Mankind, USV, Cipla, FDC, Cadila, Laranon, Ajanta, Higde and Corona have shown a good unit growth for the month of August. And among the top 40 brands, Augmentin stays at a number one position at a MAT August as well as a month August period. And brands like Pan, Molini, Rhizodec, T-Back and Telma show a double-digit unit growth for the month of August. For our Opinions That Matter section today, the topic is patient centricity. The speaker for today is Mr. Brijendra Singh, who is vertical head and senior vice president sales and marketing for Lupin. So over to Mr. Brijendra Singh and Richa, who would be interviewing her.
Good morning everyone, welcome to another episode of Opinions That Matter. Today we speak to Mr. Brijendra Singh, who heads the diabetes vertical of Lupin. Sir is one of those very few pioneers in the industry who have brought in new concepts, and one such concept which has been around for many years but then very aggressively being implemented is patient centricity. Sir is one of those people who's tried to get in patient centric with his promotional strategies across brands and across therapy areas under his cluster. So welcome to Opinions That Matter.
Richa, thank you so much first of all bringing me on this platform to express my views about the patient centricity.
Sir, I would like to begin with understanding what is patient centricity. As a layman, what do I understand when a pharma company is being patient centric in their approach?
The patient centricity is a very popular concept in the pharma industry, and it is for quite some time. But over a couple of decades, you will see it is coming into the limelight. I was just going through one study, which is the study of 2016. $330 billion is money spent out of the pocket by the patient, which has a capacity to influence almost the 60% of the pharma expenditure or healthcare expenditure. And this patient centricity, if you just look at 80% of the patient, they search internet for their healthcare, and 32% on a social media they post about their health. Patient centricity, if you look at, it's a two component. One is the patient centricity in the healthcare industry. One is the patient centricity in the marketing by the Indian pharma company or many pharma companies. Healthcare cannot exist without the patient. Because new drug development, all the new drug developers, they need patient. They need good access to the patient, because by having a good access to the patient, they can monitor the results, they can monitor the outcome, they can design the dosage frequency, they can develop new product based on the need. And the same way, if you look at the patient journey mapping, because that is also very, very important for a healthcare, right from day one to day last, and having a shared decision. If you look at it, there are three basic aims for the patient centricity. One is the better outcome, one is the better patient experience on the journey, and third is the slowing down the cost of the treatment. These three aims are there for the patient centricity as a whole, which all the pharma companies, entire healthcare system is zeroed down, and patient becomes the center in the core for all the decisions taken by the major players.
So this sounds very interesting. And a very genuine question then I have is, why is the industry not picking up on the concept?
See, there are two components of it. One is the leadership alignment. As a leadership, are we aligned for this as a priority? Second is the very slow ROI. Because once you involve patient, it is not directly you can map the ROI the way you invest on the direct to the customer. Because fortunately, unfortunately, the end user or the consumer of the pharma industry is not the patient. A customer of the pharma industry is not the patient, where customer is the doctor. So most of the companies, they end up investing more on doctors for better skills, better knowledge. But at the same time, customers is lagging behind. But going forward, after this COVID, you must have observed, there are a lot of digital initiatives, a lot of AI enabled. The access has increased. Access increased from both the angle. One, from the patient to the healthcare or healthcare provider, and the healthcare provider to the patient. Both the places, the access has gone up. So patient is becoming very, very important. And I'm sure coming time, you will see most of the companies will be having a patient-centric approach where they can derive their values, having a shared decision for a better outcome, and patients are also very informed. So they will help the clinician to have an informed decision, because they are also pushing clinician to upgrade every day. So coming time, all the pharma industry, you will see having a lot of patient-centric initiatives.
So now, in continuation with what you just said, the industry picking up on this concept of being patient-centric in their approach. Has Lupin also been working on it?
Lupin is always being a front runner in this. We have many initiatives. If I have to give you the count, recently we have expanded our one of the initiative called Pharmarack, which is for a diabetes vertical. And in diabetes vertical, in this Pharmarack, there are 3-4 steps where we make the patient journey easy. We enroll the patient, provide the diagnostic facility, counseling, medication, many things. And the entire journey, right from day one to day last, patient feels associated. They feel somebody is helping them to overcome the disease condition. Second, we have initiated a few days before in cardiology, JEET, which is very important. Prior to that, we have in respiratory business, JAY, the patient support program. We have patient support program in our oncology team, that is Sankalp. We have patient support program in neuropsychiatry, that's Epicare. We have patient support program in, again, cardiology, which is digital therapeutics. We have a separate team, separate unit working for that only. And the most importantly, we have launched 6-7 years before called chatbot called Anya, where more than 5.5 lakh patient has posted the queries there, and they are being answered to solve their queries. And patient feel connected with Lupin. The moment he is on a Lupin medication, day one he feels connected. So his journey becomes measurable, journey becomes an informed decision, journey becomes, and it becomes so comfortable to him that he feel like somebody is helping them. So that's the word we coined the Pharmarack. So we are traveling together with you. So you are not alone in this journey.
Conceptually, sir, this sounds extremely exciting. But then, are there any challenges? I mean, from a patient's point of view, what are the challenges that the patient would feel that get addressed by a pharma company being patient-centric in its approach?
The common challenge which I personally feel are 3. One is the fear. That is the biggest challenge patient is having. This I am telling from the point of view of the patient. Second is the inadequate knowledge. Third is the cost. So these are the 3 basic challenges which all the patient feels while adhering to the therapy. And all the patient-centric program, they want to increase the adherence to outcome is improved. That's the whole nut. Now the fear, if I give an example, like insulin. There is a fear of prick, prick phobia, fear of prick. If somebody explained to the patient, this prick is not that big prick which you can have after the complications occurs. And patient becomes used to, and once he sees the outcome and he sees the improvement, he becomes very comfortable. Second is the knowledge, incomplete knowledge. Why I am saying so? Once my blood pressure is normal, once my blood glucose is normal, if I am not very well knowledgeable about the disease and the complication, I may tend to stop medication. Now I am all right. So I need not to have medicine. Doctors are unnecessarily forcefully giving me the medicine, but it is not like that. In diabetes and hypertension, Nobody dies because of diabetes and hypertension. People dies because of diabetes and hypertension complications, which occurs over a period of time. So that inadequate knowledge also is one of the big barriers. And third is the cost. Somebody can subsidize the cost by holding the hand, by making the diagnostic test available, some counseling required that is available, diet counseling is there, which is very, very important. So these are the three major factors which I personally feel from a patient angle, the big barrier. If as a patient-centric program we can address this, more and more number of patients will enroll and the better outcome we will have.
And also, if you could touch upon what are the challenges the pharma industry would face when they adopt this as a promotional strategy?
Organization challenges are the same. First, the leadership alignment, which I already told you. And second is we should have that patience to have that ROI which will accumulate over a period of time. And the advantage for the organization is once the patient is onboarded on your medication, your program is for 10 months or 11 months or 12 months, 12 months your prescription is going to continue. There is no chances of changing. Rather, if patient is happy with your program, they will advocate your doctor, please put me on this program only. And rather he will advocate doctors and publicize doctors in the locality that this doctor has a very good program. If you onboard this program, your journey becomes very smooth. So that's the challenge from the company side. Have to have patience and the leadership alignment for these programs.
Sir, I have a very basic question to ask here. Does running a patient-centric program impact the overall expenses of the marketing team?
In my opinion, no. Because these expenditure, what you are talking about, these are the investment actually. You are investing in the patient for the business. See, one side we see the number of patients, if I have to talk about the diabetes, 10 crore patients are diabetic, the 40% increase over the last 4 years. One side is a very unfortunate part for the country. After so many of medication available, technology available, but number is increasing. But look at the business angle. This is a business opportunity also. We are investing on the patient from day one, from the day of diagnosis, and hand-holding the patient. Now the patient is diagnosed at the level of 45 years or 40 years, and the life expectancy is 72, 73 years. 30 years is going to have your medication. So that expenditure, the investment, you are investing today on a patient for next 30 years, which will reap good result, good business outcome, along with the patient benefit. So in my opinion, this is the right investment.
So last but not the least, let me also ask you, since India is a branded generic market and probably running patient-centric program abroad outside India is quite easy since they only have one brand for one molecule. Here we have multiple brands before the same indication, and if the industry is picking up on this concept, there will be multiple organizations also running the same program. There certainly will be an overlap. Now, how do I as an organization differentiate myself in this situation?
I think, Richard, is a very good question you have asked. Creating a differential is purely based on your relationship with the SCP and your trust in the SCP or SCP's trust in you. Because what happens in generic or branded generic market, you cannot challenge the quality of the product, right? Whenever there is a change in the prescription because of change in the person. Say if I give it an example for insulin, if you look at the top two players of the insulin, Novo and Lupin. We managed two different insulin, heminsulin as well as lupisulin, which is our in-house. If there is a change in prescription has to happen, I cannot challenge the quality of the Novo. So whenever there is a change happening man to man, how much trust I could develop in my SCP. So he changes. He feel like I am very comfortable giving my patient for handholding to the Lupin. And if doctor feels like I am very comfortable, this team is very good team, they will care for my patient will be happy, so my outcome will be happy. Then the doctor gives me the patient. Whereas internationally, if you just look at, I have gone through some of the programs. There is some program called MICP or MISP. This is maximum incentive-based payment. So there are countries where some portion of the payment to the doctors given after the satisfaction of the patient. When patient says he is very satisfied, results are correlating, then doctor get that kind of a particular portion of the payment after that. So there are multiple ways. India just being we can call it as a branded generic or a generic. But the personal rapport is very, very important. At least if I have to, I cannot question the quality of any company. But at the same time, quality of representation to the doctor's chamber is the big differential in the doctor's chamber to get the business and prescription and having a better patient outcome.
So thank you so much for your valuable time. This was an enriching discussion. And thank you also to our audience for joining us today morning. Have a great day ahead.